To quick screencast about speciation. This is the second time I've had to do this because Okay, so key points of speciation. Species are based on reproductive isolation. That's how you become a species. If you get reproductively isolated from other members of your species, then you can have random mutations that make your own species. Speciation can take place with or without geographic isolation, and there are hybrid zones that help reveal factors that can cause this reproductive isolation. And this can occur quickly or slowly and can result from changes in many or very few genes. So species, again, are individuals that can interbreed in nature to produce fertile offspring. They don't have to look alike to be the same species, right? This is, again, based on who can interbreed in nature to produce fertile offspring, based on reproductive compatibility and whether those offspring are viable. So reproductive isolation, there are two main barriers that isolate a species' gene pools from one another. The first are prezygotic barriers. For example, do the organisms live in different places? Do they mate at different times? Do they have different mating or mating behaviors? Do the parts fit together? Or do the gametes fuse, meaning egg and sperm? Can they fuse together? Post-zygotic barriers result from once you have the zygote, is that zygote able to live? Is that new offspring able to make its own offspring? Are they fertile? Or is that kind of hybrid, can they make a baby, but then those babies can't make babies, right? So when we're talking about new speciation, we're really talking about macroevolution, or the origin of new groups, new species, genus, families, etc. So speciation is the process by which one species splits into two or more species, right? So I'm going to skip over that. So there's two main types of speciation. The first is called allopatric, meaning other homeland. So geographic separation, which leads to speciation. So you have an original population, you have some sort of geographic barrier that leads to individual changes in individuals, random mutations that occur in individuals, which then propagate throughout a population, thereby allowing the formation of two species. This has happened to the little chipmunks with the Grand Canyon. Sympatric speciation occurs within the same region. Within one location, there's enough random mutation and usually some sort of selective mating within a population that can lead to turning into two over time. When we're talking about allopatric speciation, this can lead to what's called evolution as very similar, right? So adaptive radiation is the diversification of a group of organisms to fill all different ecological niches. When you think of adaptive radiation, just think of Darwin's finches. You had some finches, one population going from the mainland to an island. All these other islands then were like all of these unfilled niches, and those birds radiated throughout there. They all found their unique ecological niches, which then eventually led to lots of speciation. Divergent evolution, one species giving rise to many species, which then over time become more distantly related. The outcome of adaptive radiation and divergent evolution are the same. You get lots of speciation events, one species going into two or more. Again, divergent evolution have a common ancestor and they're diverging away. Convergent evolution, resulting in, for example, analogous structures. You do not have a common ancestor, but you converge to have a similar trait based on same environmental pressures. So again, just a reminder, convergent evolution, species not closely related but have similar characteristics. For example, dolphin and sharks have different ancestors. One's a mammal, one's a fish, but they both kind of look similar because they both have aquatic environments. Divergent evolution is one species giving rise to many that become more distantly related. So for example, if you look at the mammals, you have lots of different species within mammals that look quite different, but they all have similarities based on their common ancestor. Coevolution is two interacting species changing with one another, evolving with one another. So, for example, this happens a lot with insects and plants. It can also happen, for example, another good example are clownfish and their anemones. They've kind of co-evolved. Parallel evolution, two species arising from a common ancestor, but then you had a speciation event. Um, and again, when I say event, it happens over many, many thousands to millions of years. But you have a speciation event, but then in similar environmental pressures cause these to look quite similar. Whenever we talk about speciation, meaning creation of more species, the counter to that are extinction events. So we've had many mass extinction events. We're currently in a mass extinction event. It's happened many times on this planet. Every time you see a mass extinction event, then what that does is it allows a lot of ecological niches to go unfilled. Therefore, after mass extinctions, you actually see a lot more speciation, or the numbers of species going up after that point. All right, that's it.